Hello, everybody, and welcome to Stargates of the Cosmos. I'm your host, Janet Lessin, and my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin, and we're on radio. Our producer is Tom Respect. We're on Studio B, and our guest today is Nikki Yanke. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her before I bring on Dr. Lessin and Nikki. Nikki says, I'm a lifelong experiencer of the paranormal, which includes interactions with ghosts, aliens, angels, and just about everything in between. I went through my childhood in a very strict, fear-based religious household, and I was told the spirits I was seeing were demons or that I had too big of an imagination. So I grew up taught. I tried to ignore the spirits, entities, aliens, and make excuses for what I was seeing, hearing, and dreaming, but they just kept coming. Going into adulthood, I could no longer ignore them. I decided to accept them as part of my life, but rarely spoke of them to friends and family for fear they would think I was crazy. Although I could see and hear them, I didn't realize I could communicate. In 2010, I started meditating. My consciousness started to expand very quickly. By 2014, I had started classes, and I was going to seminars to learn about my psychic abilities. Little by little, I released my fear and embraced my ability. It felt amazing, like a new me had been reborn. While continuing to meditate and practicing communication with the spirit world, I received an even bigger surprise. In 2017, during a hypnosis session, I discovered I was being abducted by the Greys, and I was involved in the hybrid program. And now, 2 years later, I continue hypnosis sessions, bringing many memories of my abductions to life. I now communicate with my lifelong Grey alien guardian. He has been very helpful in my understanding of what has and is happening to me. So I have a bio on Nikki on AquarianRadio.com, plus some pictures and graphics, so feel free to go take a look at those. And Dr. Lessin, say hello to Nikki and Thomas.
Aloha, good morning.
No, it's afternoon, honey.
Hello.
We're in Maui. Hi, Nikki. Welcome to the show. Wow, what a fascinating story. Well, how about we start with your story, your earliest recollections of. You sound like me, but I don't want to pollute my story with your story with my story. So, what's your earliest memory of having some kind of interaction with spirits, entities, aliens, or whatever you were seeing? What's going on?
Okay. Well, it seems like it was always in my life, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint it down to one thing. I've always been able to hear like voices, not directing me to telling me what to do, what not to do, but just talking. I've always been able to hear. I thought it was people's thoughts for a long time, but I think it was actually, I think I kind of dip in and out of dimensions. So I've had some experiences with that pretty much my whole life. As far as the paranormal, I remember seeing like things which I always thought were in my closet. So I guess it would be more like shadow type things in my closet. I'd never get a really good look at them, but I'd always be terrified. Growing up, I was a Jehovah's Witness, so that type of like the idea of spirits being okay or good were shunned, and everything was a demon. So you must be doing something wrong in your life if a demon was around you. So I always thought they were demons, and I would dream about them and just be terrified as a kid, not knowing what was happening to me. So I tried to make a lot of excuses.
Your closet being. Let me go back and ask you about your closet being, because so you didn't see them straight on. You kind of saw them from the side or out of the corner of your eye. What was going on there? Did you ever see them straight on?
Not knowingly. The closet type beings, it would either be a shadow, like not a full vision. I honestly now I think it might have been like ghosts, or like what people would refer to ghosts, like earthbound beings, and or just other spirits or entities. As young as I can remember, I always knew I wasn't from here, or felt like I wasn't from here. And I would often like look up to the sky and ask them when they were coming to get me, because I didn't feel like I was supposed to be here. But now I come to realize that there's a reason why I'm here. So, but I did on occasion see what seemed like a real life human in front of me. But when I would ask my family who it was, they would have no idea what I was talking about or who I was talking about. There was a very tall, blonde man that came into our, we didn't call it a church, but I will for religious reasons, came into our church, and she talked to me. And when I brought it up later, they didn't remember or didn't know who I was talking about. But he was very real to me. So they didn't see him, but I did. So I believe that things like that were happening. I just assumed they just didn't get a good look at him or didn't remember. And I was pretty introverted, so I didn't push the envelope a lot with them.
So you're having full daylight appearances and conversations. So when you saw this tall man, he spoke to you and you had a dialogue?
Yes, and if I remember correctly, he said something like he was coming back for me. So thinking about what he looked like now, I'd almost guess he might have been a like Palladian type being or something, or just an apparition of someone I once knew. Nothing made sense to me growing up. I just had to keep, like when something would disappear, I'd convince myself that I must have misplaced it. When it would reappear, right in plain sight, I just, assume I had missed it. I had to have missed it, because how could that possibly happen? When I was young, I remember looking up in the sky and seeing a star, and I would see it move. I could see it like jet back and forth. And I would just put that on myself, like, oh, your eyes are getting tired. Or if you stare at something long enough, it'll go out of focus. So I would always come up with an excuse so that I wouldn't be so terrified of why these things were happening. But when I got a little bit older, I did have an experience with, which now I know was a ship that came overhead. And I thought it was the Northern Lights because I lived in the north, in the northern states. So I thought it was the Northern Lights. So I came home, and in my parking lot, there was these big beams of white light all the way around me. And I was married, but very young at the time. And I looked up and was just staring at it in awe. My husband went into the apartment, and what I thought was just a minute or two, he came out and was like, "Are you ever coming in here?" He's like, "You've been out here for like 2 hours."
Oh,
and I'm like,
goodness.
"What?" Like that's, but I always thought that was the Northern Lights. It never occurred to me until a couple of years ago when I finally discovered that this was happening for real, that, oh my gosh, that was a ship. That was an actual ship that must have, come down and taken me up. And it never occurred to me. I just thought I was staring off into these beautiful lights. It was pretty funny.
Well, do you think they, since it was 2 hours later, do you think they kind of blanked him out so he didn't come out right away? Notice you were gone. Did you get any more details on that episode?
I haven't gone back in hypnosis or in my own my own trying to figure out what that was. I am sure that they abducted me and did whatever they do when you're on board. Since then, I've had hypnosis in the last couple of years and have a couple of memories now, a handful of memories now of some abductions. And then I had in real time, just a year ago, I had to call in a paranormal team to help me because the activity was getting so great in my house. And in doing so, they discovered a mantid and grazed in a tunnel beneath my apartment. So
What?
Yeah.
So are you on the floor?
I'm on the first floor, and some weird happenings. Well, every place I've ever lived, I've had very strange happenings. But in this particular place, I was getting some pretty strong paranormal things happening, which I was fairly used to, except here it was pretty strong. So, for example, I was doing a morning routine before work, and I was in a rush to try and get a bunch of chores done. So I had started a load of laundry, and there wasn't much laundry detergent left in the jug. So I tipped it upside down, to see if I could get one more load in that cap, and set it on the shelf. And when I started my laundry or my washing machine, the lid locks into place, so you can't open it once it starts. So I left the laundry room and started doing some other chores. A few minutes later, I heard that jug fall off the shelf, and I just thought, well, I'll go get it when I change my load. So approximately an hour later, I was getting ready to run to the store, and I thought, well, let me change that laundry, put it in the dryer real quick. So when I went in there, I opened up the washing machine, and the laundry detergent jug was inside my washing machine, inside the locked washing machine. So I was startled, but it didn't feel, I was pretty used to paranormal by then. So it didn't, I was like, oh my gosh, like it startled me, but it didn't feel bad. It didn't feel like a bad energy. So, and I was in a really big hurry. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to deal with that later. So I went, about a few weeks later, I went to a friend of mine who does readings, and she's very good. And she was able to look back and see that there was indeed an energy here. And when she was looking, she started asking me, did the roads in my neighborhood start to bump up? And after I moved in, and I said, yeah, a month after I moved in, the road on both sides of my building got a big bump in it. And on the one side, it was so bad that it broke the sidewalk apart, and they had to redo the sidewalk. And she said, do you have a tree outside your bedroom window? I said, yes, I have a tree there. She said, there's a portal open at that tree going into your bedroom, and there's tunnels below your, they've tunneled under your apartment building. And I said, who tunneled under there? And she said, aliens, like ETs, energies. Like she wasn't exactly sure, but something is tunneling under there. She thought it was aliens. She's not into alien life, so she hasn't studied it. So she couldn't tell me any names of any specific, but just said that. Well, it just so happened that I was getting ready to go to my first UFO conference with a friend of mine who persisted that we go. I didn't even want to go at the time when she talked me into it, but so getting ready to go to that conference.
Where is this going on? What part of the world? Where do you live?
I live around the Dallas area, DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay. Which conference were you going to?
I went to Starworks in Laughlin, Nevada.
Okay. Okay, cool.
And so it was last November, actually. And so in preparation to go to the conference, I felt like I didn't know anything about UFOs. So I started reading a couple of books. Well, in doing so, I discovered that just about not every experience, but a lot of the experience that these people were having, I have had. So I had like the owl experience, where a big white owl had just appeared out of nowhere. I had it with some other beings, I guess. I had a lot of bloody noses during the night. I had, what were the other things? There were several things, but I don't have it sitting in front of me to recall. The kind of common things. I'd had a lot of dreams that seem to be the same type of dreams that most people that are abducted have. Very lucid dreams. I was terrified of the things that were in my closet. I was terrified of aliens, grays. And when I started doing these readings, I remembered, like, how I forget these things, I don't know, but life gets busy and you tend to put things aside and forget about them, I guess. But I had done my first hypnosis the year before that. In that hypnosis, I had an actual paralysis during hypnosis, and I couldn't move. I couldn't talk, speak, move. I could hear, then that was the only thing I could do. And the hypnotist kept asking me to move my finger when I reached this door, right in the hallway in this door, and I couldn't move, and it took several minutes before I finally was able to speak. And I said, "They took me." And she said, "Who took you?" And I said, "They look like the Greys." And she said, "What do they want with you?" And I said, "I think they're studying me. They won't let me move." So I tried to figure out what they were saying, and I couldn't figure out what they were talking about. So I assumed that they were studying me, and she wasn't very experienced and didn't know anything about it. That's not what I was being hypnotized, or, I was doing a past life regression, and that was a total surprise. So right before the conference, realizing I had this experience, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm being abducted, right?
Right.
So I got connected with some people at the conference, going and telling, some of my stories, some of my paranormal experiences, and was able to do a little bit more hypnosis with some other people, and discovered, I did some work with Barbara Lamb. She's very wonderful, and Nisha, very, very lovely people. I even did some work with Karen Grisham. And so, yeah, it all worked out good. They're all very, very wonderful, good people, and were very helpful to me. So from there, I just kind of dug into it. So when I got home from the conference, I had another experience with some paranormal. And I decided to call a team that was recommended to me by Lori and Fenton. And so I had talked to everyone when I was there. I got all my information. She hooked me up with this team. Pardon me?
What does the team do? What did they do?
I had to fill out some. Yeah, well, they came in astrally. So I had to fill out some paperwork so they knew what they were dealing with. Well, I have so many experiences that it was like hours later, and they're like, it's okay, we've got enough. Just let us come in and look. So I gave them my address, and 3 of them went astral, and they kind of like direct their energy at my address. And I think sometimes some of them have to use maybe like Google Maps or something, but others just can concentrate on it and just do it. So when they come in, they can literally, like, they can see each other. They can see everything that's here. It's like, well, you know what astral is. So when they got here, they asked me who was all here. So it was my son and I had 2 dogs. They saw the energy that was in my house, and they called it a trickster energy, just kind of a spirit that likes to play games and move things around. And it wasn't malevolent necessarily, just kind of a nuisance, getting and, kind of freaking me out a little bit by the way it acted. They saw a troll here, a troll energy. And when they were searching the building to make sure there was nothing else around, they discovered the tunnels themselves. They saw the portal that the woman a month or so before had seen, and they don't know each other in any sort of way. So they saw the portal open, they saw the tunnels below me, and when they went into the tunnels, they were met with a mantid in full, I would call it like armor, like it was guarding. Not sure if it was guarding me or not, but I believe so.
About the portals or the tunnels that the other person had mentioned. You didn't say anything to them about that, or did you?
Yes, both of them. The person I went to just to see what was going on, it was about a month before I even went to the UFO conference. So this is the paranormal team that came in was about 2 months later, after the original person told me there were tunnels and a portal open. So when this,
but did you tell group B what person A said? Did you?
No. I had never mentioned anything. No.
Okay, that's what I was just.
Yeah, I wanted
cool.
to get. I never repeat what somebody else says because I want to get solid information. If I can get confirmation, if they both say the same thing, then I know we're really dealing with something. And they both said the exact same thing. So it was as good a confirmation as I could ever get. And so this team, they did something that I wish they wouldn't have, but they didn't ask my permission. And at the time, this team ended up collapsing the tunnel, thinking I was in danger. So when they collapsed the tunnel, they killed the mantid, and she said 3, I think she said 3, it's 3 or 5, I don't remember now, grays came running out of part of the tunnel that was behind. So they kind of got into somewhat of a little bit of a battle there. Clearly, she didn't say that they killed the Greys. I don't know if the Greys just retreated or not, but they were in quite a bit of shock. So after they thought they closed the portal. They thought they did everything they were supposed to do and tidied up my apartment energy-wise and left. Well, it was, I think, just one day later, I came home from work and I had a rope hanging down from a doorway that I would do like some kickboxing. So I'd punch at it, to practice kickboxing. And the rope hung about 6 inches off the floor, maybe a foot off the floor, attached to a bar going across the doorway. And I had gone in and out of that room, passing that rope. And the last time I went through the doorway, the rope hit me in the shoulder. And I looked up thinking, like, how does, like, what is going on? That shouldn't touch my shoulder. Should touch my knee maybe. And it had been wrapped 3 times around the bar. So although they thought they got everything out of here, something made its way back in. And so I had to call them back in, because at that point I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening here, So
I have a couple questions on this. Let me pause right here with this. I have a couple questions on this. From my understanding, most of the ET races are telepathic, and they can often see someone coming astrally, interdimensionally, and they sense them because they are extremely psychic and telepathic. So I'm surprised that they were able to catch them off guard and collapse the tunnel, and they weren't able to, or they killed the mantis. I'm just surprised. But I don't know everything, but I'm just saying that this just seems like she would have known what they were going to do, and not.
Maybe they never thought they'd be discovered in the tunnel. I think it was when she was going astral, she was going through the hallways, and I think she kind of accidentally discovered the tunnels. So possibly they never thought they'd be seen in the tunnel. I think they'd been working in there for quite some time. It's hard to say. I wasn't watching what they were doing, so I didn't know. But what did happen is the next day after they collapsed the tunnels, there were, I would say, about 6 ATT trucks around my block. I never saw anyone working in the building or anywhere around, but there were tons of trucks. It was just surprising. So I'm like, why is there so many AT&T trucks here? So I have a guess that somebody was digging out the tunnels that they used, and then
AT&T trucks.
Exactly. And then the man that was in charge of that paranormal team he lives in the mountains with like a mile-long driveway all to himself. Like nobody comes down that driveway. It's very secluded, very hidden. He's very much a out by himself, kind of hermit type guy. And a black SUV pulled on his driveway the day after my encounter with them collapsing the tunnels and the mantid and the graves. So I believe that with the AT&T trucks as well, that it may have been my lab experience as well. I had some feelings about that with seeing some people in black SUVs kind of parked around my apartment through the years. I had seen a lot of that black helicopter around a lot. But again, I was so used to swishing things away in my mind, like it can't possibly be about me. Must be something else going on, that I never put too much thought into it until they said that black SUV pulled up in their driveway. And then I started, okay, let's recall all these experiences that I've had that actually resemble what is happening now. So when I put it all together, there were just so many things that had happened that I had just not wanting to deal with and realize. But at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to.
It's good to list them all for your future book. And then if you go into another hypnosis session, you could say, I know, I want to go into this and see if there's more. Sasha, Dr. Lessin, you've been quiet. What would you like to add to the conversation? Any questions or feedback?
Not about what we've done so far. I mean, my attention was caught by your guide, and your relationship with your guide, your guardian. That's like.
Oh, we haven't got there yet.
Well, that's.
Oh, sure.
That's
yeah.
where I'm I just
Okay.
think that's just.
Well, just keep going with your episodes, and then we'll get to that. So, what else do you want to say about this episode? And then we'll make a note about getting to your guide. Okay, go ahead.
Well, the guide actually falls into play right about that time. So I didn't realize I had that guide. His name is Niall, or, so we think. It's the best we can come up with anyway. Niall or something like that. But he ended up communicating with the paranormal team, telling them, no, like you've got it all wrong. Like they're not bad. They're not like out to get her. He told one of the paranormal team members that he was my guardian and I was part of the hybrid program, and that they weren't to interfere because I was level 3. And she assumed I might know what that was, or somebody would, but at that point we had no idea what level 3 meant. So we ended up, I asked her some more questions about him, and when I ended up doing a hypnosis and communicating with him. And
so what is level 3?
Level
who
3.
Was your therapist?
I went to Barbara Lamb, I believe, was the one. No. I take it back. I asked. I can't remember now because I ended up working with a couple different hypnosis. Or hypnotists. It might have been Misha. It wasn't Barbara Lamb because it came up. Barbara is curious to know about it, so I know it wasn't with her. But it came up after, and then I also asked the original woman that had first seen the tunnels and first seen the I'm losing my thoughts here. The outside my window. Not the vortex, but the help me out. Well, anyway. So.
Listen. If you could do a thought experiment, if you were to admit you were the actual tunnel itself, and as the tunnel, what do you say? What is your essence? What information do you have about yourself that you'd like to share with Nikki?
Well, at the tunnel we did. Well, let me start with the level 3. The level 3 we discovered is part of the hybrid program. Everybody comes in. Everyone that's in the program is level 1. Maybe about half of the people that they're running DNA tests on and doing experiments on make it to level 2. And then depending on your energy, maybe who you are, where you came from, your experiences that you've had, a very few people make it to level 3. And Niall, my guardian, was saying, I'm level 3, please leave her alone because she is being guarded. So it turned out I was being guarded. There was also a reptilian portal open near my apartment, and I think that's why I was having the mantid guard me, because they were keeping other beings away. So
So were the reptilians negative? Because I've met both negative and positive reptilians. Were these reptilians negative? Something to fear?
I honestly can't say if they're negative or positive, but they were interfering with what the hybrid program was trying to do. So regardless of their energy, they were getting in the way, so they did not want them interfering.
So
And
what's the
anything
hybrid
else
program
interfering.
trying to do? What's the hybrid program doing that they're interfering with?
I'm not 100% sure. The hybrid program, to the best of my knowledge, is taking my memories that I've had, not just in this lifetime, but in all my soul life. And I don't think they wanted the reptilians to get that information. It's about consciousness. It's about other parts of the universe, knowing the universe, learning the universe. And like some of the books that have been written that they write in code and secret, they don't want everyone to understand it. They only want select few to understand it. My understanding of it is I have a contract with the Greys so that I can have a human body and be here and do things that I need to do. And they have access to my consciousness, to understanding my consciousness. And that's in my astrology chart.
So what is it about you and your rebirths that makes you get up to level 3? What is it about your experiences that makes you 3?
Well, I am like everyone that comes here. I had no memories. So I really didn't know for a long time what made me special. I felt special in no particular way. I was a fairly good psychic. I had some healing abilities, but outside of that, I easily did astral and did some remote viewing without ever really being taught. But outside of that, I really didn't know. But the more I learn about myself,
like that. Yeah. Those very things are the things that are one. That those very things are the things that make you 3.
Yeah.
Very possibly, right? Because how did I get this abilities to begin with? So it looks like I have been around for a very long time, and I've studied the universe and just an ancient soul. It looks like it shows it in my astrology chart. It shows it in my Akashic records, and that seems to be pretty fitting. So I have done some work. When I do my meditations, there has been a handful of times that I've gone to the underworld and retrieved souls. And every time I go, it's a little bit deeper, a little bit trickier, a little bit more intense. I didn't know what was happening when I was doing these things when I first started. And I thought, oh my gosh, they have me retrieving souls. That's awesome. Like, I love it.
So, or the souls, I go to the underworld a lot too, but I go to like beautiful cities. So you're going somewhere where you're retrieving souls. Are they prisoners? Are they trapped?
Yeah.
Can't get out themselves?
The first one I retrieved, it almost seemed like a test to see if I could do it, I think. The first one was actually fairly easy, and it was a man, and he had hung himself. And I went down and I said, oh, your family, they forgive you and they love you, and you don't have to be here, and convinced him that it was okay to move along. And I showed him a light that was in this tree above us. And I said, just go to that tree and they'll be there to help you. And he walked to the tree, and I saw the light like just open up, and he went into the light, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, beautiful. And it was months later, I was driving to work, which this was kind of scary, I guess, once I realized what was happening. I was driving, and I felt one of my guardians that kind of holds on to me when I go to the underworld. He has a little prickly kind of feel to him, and I call him Oogly. And I said, "Oh, Oogly, what are you doing here? Like, I'm driving to work. What are you doing here right now?" And sure enough, they had me go to the underworld. I'm not sure who was driving, but when I went that time, there were 3 sisters. And so it was a little bit deeper, a little bit like it was weedier. It wasn't like the first place I had gone. It seemed thicker and denser, and the weeds were very tall. Like I had to kind of push these weeds around. They kind of looked like seaweed, like really large seaweed. And me and another spirit helped get those 3 sisters out. Then the last time I went, it was so deep in that it almost looked like these souls were inside gum, like a gum bubble. It was this thick, sticky kind of, I don't know, like substance. And we had to be very fast, and it was very dark and very dreary there. And we tore open the sack, I guess, or this wall of whatever it was, and they flooded out. And we had to hurry up because you could feel the other energy coming after them. They knew they were escaping. And we quickly sealed it back up and got them out of there. And that at that time, there must have been over 100 that we got out of there.
Wow.
And so I think it's these things that possibly make me a level 3.
Yeah, that's great. So let me ask a couple questions. So you, it seems like you're going under the earth, down into. Do you see yourself traveling, or are you just instantly there? Is this what we might call hell, in mythology? But
yes.
It's dense.
Yeah, I'm kind of instantly there. I don't make a long journey of it. It's quick for me. I have had, I work with the archangels often, a lot, most, and Christ consciousness a lot here on Earth. And they have shown me how to make myself into a sphere, and you can just just go really fast as a sphere, and then open back up. So it's almost like you're making yourself a portal.
Okay, so you're speeding up the process, yeah. So once you get there, I mean, when I was a child, I used to go through an elaborate process of walking and crawling, and then finally I would get down. It was a journey to and from. But as I got older, I was able to go, now I'm instantly. I go to a lot. My job at night is I go to these other worlds, and I'm not going to go into what I do. But so you have this other job you have besides this life, and that's retrieving these people that are trapped. And most of them are suicides or something, or you don't know how they died. So the one person was a suicide.
I think they're all different. The first one was a suicide. The 3 sisters, I think, had in self-defense murdered some people and put themselves there, just in their own thought process, had put themselves there. And the 100 or so souls, I feel, were stolen. They all went to a ship, like a boat ship, and it felt to me like it literally might have been a boat that something grabbed a hold of when it looked like a Navy type ship. Maybe it was in a war time or something, but it looked like something had taken them against their will without them knowing any better. And it was just like in a horror film. You could see their faces coming out of that, or pressing into that gummy substance, arms, legs, but they couldn't get out. They couldn't break free. That's what it looked like. It was very eerie. It was not a pleasant place at all.
Wow. And so once you got them out, where did they go?
They went to the ship, and again, a light came over them, and the entire ship went into the light. I always leave it up to the angels or another higher up to handle that sort of situation. Whenever I've been in astral experiences, the angels have always been there to help me. I have two experiences, if we still have time, of in astral that were really beautiful.
Okay, we will. We're coming up on. We have 10 more minutes.
What kind of a ship was it? Was it a sailing ship or a steamship or a modern ship? What was it like?
It looked like almost like a Navy ship that you see like sailing along the waters.
A modern Navy ship.
Yeah, it looked a little bit older, but like maybe not today's ship, but maybe like 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Okay. Like during World War II or something.
Yeah, very possibly. Yeah. They just flooded out. I mean, I could barely even get a glimpse of a single one of them. They just flew out of there so extremely fast. And there was a couple kind of like, I was nervous. I'm like, hurry. Like, oh my gosh, we have to hurry and get you out of here. Like, I want to get all of you. But I really hope that we did. I think that we got them all out.
Wow, that's great.
So I just leave it to the angels after that to help me. The angels have helped me immensely. I have some very beautiful experiences with them. Growing up a Jehovah's Witness, after we were put out of the religion because my parents got divorced, so that was against the religion, and they banished us basically from the religion. I kind of walked around not knowing, not believing. And since I've discovered my abilities and everything, meditation and that, now I can see there's a creator. I can see that there's angels, where once I wasn't even sure. Now I believe it more than ever, and that was without religion, unfortunately. You know, I wish religion was what it was supposed to be, but sometimes it's not. Not that it can't be a good thing for some people.
That must be an amazing thing that happened when they put you out to Coventry, when the people that were your friends kicked you out. What was that like for you?
Yeah, why did they kick out the children? It was the parents that did this. So they kicked you out as well?
Yeah. I was about 11, 12 years old at that time. And the only way that my mother really wanted to stay in the religion, it was her entire life. And she really, I believe she was also an abductee, so she was kind of lost herself. So she really wanted to stay in the religion, and she just really did not want to be married to my father anymore, or her husband. So the only way she was allowed to stay is if she stayed married to him. So she chose not to, and in doing so, we all were cast out because we were a part of her family. And the ironic thing about that religion is that they isolate you so much. Anyone outside of the religion is considered worldly and evil, and everything is demons. And then the one time you have a little bit of trouble in your life, they turn their backs on you. I'm like, well, isn't that ironic? Everyone's worldly, yet you're just turning us to the wolves, you know?
That's amazing. Wow. Okay, we have about 6 minutes before the break. Do you have any questions, Sash?
Well, I just wonder what, as an 11-year-old person, what that did to you.
Well, I have always been, I don't know how to explain it. As an 11-year-old, I was more upset that my family was falling apart, other than the religion was kind of a side note, I guess, at the time. But I kind of got a little bit angry at the religion because I had family members, 2 aunts and family that were still involved in it, and now they weren't even allowed to talk to us. So while we were in the religion, we couldn't talk to the rest of our family. We could only talk to them. And now that we weren't in the religion, we couldn't talk to them, and we're left with this family that we had disowned. So
my gosh.
So basically, we had no one. We had 0. We basically didn't have any friends because we weren't allowed to be friends with anyone. And then everything was taken away. So it was very alone. I felt very alone, very isolated. And then my family was breaking apart on top of it. So
did you live with your mom or your dad after that? Suddenly you had to, who did you live with?
I lived with my mom. My sister went with my dad. And about a year later, my mom could not take it anymore. And she ended up leaving and left me with my dad. So it was a difficult time, and I was really hurt and confused at how that could possibly happen, because in my mind, always from the beginning, love should conquer all. So love should fix everything. And in this world, it's just not that way. In this world, you have to figure out how to either be persistent and never give up on it, or, your ways around of figuring out how to, or who to love and who to just be okay with and things like that. So it was.
Did your mother keep in contact? Did she keep in contact with you? Or?
Yes. She moved a state away and stayed in contact, and always said that you're going to come live with me soon. But unfortunately, that didn't work out, and our relationship was very damaged then. So we never really recovered from that episode, unfortunately. And she died very suddenly of brain cancer 5 years ago. So it was unfortunate, but the good thing is I can see spirits. And she came to me in a dream and hugged me very tightly. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love you so much. I'm so sorry for what happened in our life. And she just smiled and went on. And just a few months ago, my stepmom, my first stepmom, passed away, and she came to me the exact same way in a dream, and I got to hug her as well. And I said, oh my gosh, I've always loved you. I hope you know that I always thought you were a really good person. And she smiled and walked away. So I'm like, I'm so grateful that I'm able to communicate and understand that, because it made all the difference in the world. It made all the difference to me. It made everything okay again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had that too. I think you have to be open to it. If you're afraid of it, then they can't come. I have one question. We're going to be on a break in like 2 minutes here. I want to go back to maybe after the break. You said that you think your mother was an abductee. So.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So how do you know that again?
It usually stays in families. So it usually goes from one generation to the next. I'm pretty good at seeing past lives and other people's lives. I'm pretty good in astral, and again, like I do some remote viewing, kind of practicing that a little bit more. But I could see that it came from my grandfather, and he was part Native American, Irish, English, and that tends to be a a nationality, DNA nationality that they like. And my grandfather and I are all O negative. And that too is something they tend to like. The O negative or the RH negatives just come from a certain place in the stars. They come from a very, it tells your history, right? Your part of your.
Okay, we have to take a break right now, so pause, hold that thought. We're going to see where they come from. Back in 5 minutes. Aloha and welcome back to Stargates and Cosmos. And I'm host Janet here with my co-host Dr. Sasha, Alex Leslie, producer Thomas Becker, and this is Reference Radio Studio B. And we're here with Nikki Yanke. And I wanted to tell you our donation button is down, so if you would like to make a donation, we would really appreciate it. And you need to go to revolution.radio and scroll down to the bottom. Oh, I forgot the name of the person. There's a name and an address, so you can mail the checks there.
Thomas knows it.
Thomas, what's the name of the person again? Terry Ackerman. Alrighty. Thank you, Terry, for taking the donations for Revolution Radio. We appreciate you. And thank you very much for taking time, especially during this holiday season, taking your time to donate to us. That's our Christmas present, our holiday season present. So thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say? And then I have a couple
Okay, well, first I would just, before our show, there was an advertisement for Extendivite. And I've been studying herbalists lately, and the herbalists have cures for so many things that the medical profession strings people out on, that the medical profession is down on herbalists. But there's really something to learn from herbalists. So that's just a little aside about our sponsor. I'm really grateful for Extendivite. Okay, about for you, Nikki, I'm fascinated by this idea that you say you're hybrid. You look at, it runs in the family. What Susie Hansen has said is that some people have been chosen, and it sounds like you're one of them, basically, and you've got a mission and something you're supposed to be doing. And so if that ring resonates with you, I'd like to hear about your mission. What did you learn about what you're supposed to be doing?
And before we get back to Nikki, I wanted to say a couple things about that as well. Yes, my grandmother sat down and told us about her abduction experiences. So it does run in family. So this is third generation. I'm O negative. My sister's O negative. So that's now I have the Irish and English, but I'm Scotch, Dutch, and French as well. No Native American. So I've heard that Native American Irish English connection, but it's not 100% because I'm a lifelong experiencer. I have many things similar to what's been going on with you. And, we did mention before the break that if you really want to talk to your relatives, you got to learn how to be open to it, especially contact as well. Whitley Strieber was explaining how he trained himself so he wouldn't get into a basic fight or flight fear response, and now he can sit down and meditate with them. Somehow I'm, not afraid anymore. They come and they can sit down next to me, and I'm fine with that now too. I don't know how I got there. It's just like a lifelong practice, but you can get there. So invite contact and then be prepared because they're contacting millions of us right now. So Nikki, where do you want to go? I didn't mark where we were.
I can.
Last thing that you were talking about.
Oh, it's fine. I'd like to add a comment and then maybe answer Sasha's question.
Yes.
So, first of all, I want everyone to know that you don't have to be of that DNA background. You don't have to be O negative, and you don't even have to be Rh negative to be abducted. I can't remember who it was, but they think about 1 in 50 people are abducted, but it's probably more like a one-time thing or maybe a couple-time thing. The hybrid program is separate from that, but there's plethora of abductions out there. So it's not specific to that, but I think as far as the hybrid program goes, that seems to be kind of a common denominator there. But what Sasha was asking about, I think like most of us here, we all are here, or most of us anyway, for a specific reason, especially at this time. It's the time of Aquarius. Everything is changing quite rapidly, and I think everyone can see it. If you can't, you're just in complete denial. But we sometimes it's a little difficult to figure out why we're here, but I've always felt like there was some testing being done with me, and I've always automatically said, I'm here to save souls. I'm here to save souls, which is pretty broad of a comment, actually, because in doing so, I save souls in all sorts of different ways, and most of us in this business do, as I'm sure you and Janet do as well, because some of us are going to the underworld, some of us are going to our neighbor and saying, hey, I love you, like, hang in there, like, you can do this. Yeah. And that's literally saving the soul. So it doesn't, it doesn't always mean you have to do this extremely heroic thing to do it. But basically, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to save souls. Whether it's 10 or 1,000 or 1,000,000, it doesn't matter. The 10 are just as important as the 1,000,000. So basically, that's it. But I needed a body to be here and do it at this time. This time being, we need some very strong, powerful energies on Earth, even if it's just to raise the vibration, to get the more positive energy going to fight against the dark entities that are here trying to take over. It's a crucial time in Earth's history, and sometimes it's just a matter of being here.
Hybrid, I'm sorry. Let me ask you about your hybrid state. Now, I find some people their DNA is a bunch of different species or one other species besides human. So the body is a hybrid, and then the soul can be a hybrid. So what DNA is in your body? Mine is, I'm Anunnaki and human, and there could be other things. I've interacted with all the species, but had a strong connection to mantis, and I've communicated with greys and reptoids primarily. But your body, what DNA do you have? What other species DNA do you have in your body?
My body it has gray, reptilian, and mantid. I think it's what they're telling me is like a 3-3-3 split. So some combination from what I can get from my guardian and other spirits or entities that want to communicate with me. I do a lot of work with the mantids. I help them communicate with others when they can't. I'm not even sure how I'm doing it. I know it's happening. It's happening in my unconscious, and I'm being told about it after the fact. So I can't really comment a whole lot about that because I really don't know what's happening unless they decide they want to share with me. I don't have those memories right now. I just know it is happening. But
it's really interesting. You could even right now on the spot, if you would choose to, identify with each of those. Start with the mantis part of you. If the mantis part of you were going to come into your consciousness now state its existence, say what it is like, what its essences are. What mantis part of Nikki? What do you like? It's the mantis part of her.
What do I feel like is the mantis part of
Yeah,
me?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Well, I feel like that outer shell of protection. You know what I mean? Like kind of being the protected but quiet person, right? You're kind of in the background, but you're taking in everything that's there with this outer shell of protection. Like I don't necessarily feel afraid anymore, but I've got my armor and I'm kind of good with that. You know what I mean?
Wow. Far out. Yeah. It makes
so
you
yeah,
feel,
I mean, and I really hadn't ever thought about it before. So I just kind of accepted it for what it was. When I talked to Niall, the guardian, the gray guardian, he always refers to the contract. No matter what you say, like, why is this? Why is this? He points to that contract. You signed a contract. You signed a contract. So they're very adamant about what they're doing. So to me, it looks kind of unethical, right? It's something that we shouldn't allow, but we signed a contract for it to happen. I mean, they do. They harvest our eggs. They harvest our sperm. They create beings and experiment on them. It's not a pretty thought. It's not without pain and suffering for a lot of people. A lot of people really struggle with losing their babies to them. They feel very connected and very loved. I mean, I'm in one of a group where, you know, people can talk openly about their experiences and their feelings on it. And there's even men that will break down and cry because they have memories of holding their hybrid babies that aren't here with them. And I think that's why the Gray Guardian refers to that contract. Like, you sign this, like, we need this. As a race, they need this. And it's the only way they feel like they can get it. And so unfortunately, it has to be that way. I've accepted it for what it is. So it doesn't bother me near as much as I think it bothers a lot of other people. And
what does the contract say? What's on the contract?
They will only show me the part of the contract that's with them. And it's the agreement that I had. They arranged a body for me in exchange for experimenting on my body, taking what they needed, and also getting my memories. My memories of around the universe, of my soul life, and trying to understand my consciousness and my higher consciousness. They don't, from what I know and from what I can see, they don't have that consciousness, but they want it, because from the way I understand it, like your heart, love, emotion, that's a huge ruler of our bodies. They don't have that. They're not ruled by emotion, and we are. So they want that. They're trying to create this being that they're still a part of, a big part of, where they can have those experiences. It's important. Love, the emotions are extremely important, and they want that for their race to survive. They have to have humans hold the hybrid babies, even if it's 90% gray and 10% human. The human has to show that hybrid baby love at least once for it to survive. Otherwise, it won't survive. So they bring.
Did you nurse any of the babies? Did you nurse them?
I don't have those memories. I know they have my hybrids because I've had some empty pregnancies, meaning I've been pregnant and then miscarried, and when I miscarried, there was nothing there. And
Wow.
I don't want to share my family's things, but it's happened not just to me. So I know that they have.
Did they ever love bite you? Like they told me that they wanted me to diversify. They can actually retrieve the material, either the sperm and the egg. They can get things from your,
Love life.
Yeah, from your love life. I don't want to get graphic here on the show. So they encouraged me. I stopped and asked. I go, why? I was pretty young and I was starting to have a lot of sex. And I go, what am I doing? I don't really want to do this. And they explained. They said, well, we need to diversify the material. So I said, well, you got to slow this down. So I got, one of the reasons I got married at 16. It was like I had a social reason not to be promiscuous, but I was getting not excessively, but it was like having too many partners and not comfortable about it. So it slowed me down. But I hear a lot about the love bite stuff. You find yourself attracted to a certain person, you're there for a while, and then you break up, and then you're on to somebody else. Love bites.
I did not connect that with them. I didn't realize that was a thing with them. And I would say, yeah, that's pretty true with me, because it was hard for me to stay interested for too long with most people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would have to agree with that. And thinking back, I never realized, I kept going to the doctor for all these really odd problems. And the doctors never had an explanation. I think they thought I was crazy. So I would, have these huge bruises. They look like handprints often on my thighs or on my arms. And I'm like alone. I don't even have a boyfriend right now or a husband. Like, how is this happening? I'm getting these bruises, and they'd look at me like, like, sure. And I'm like, oh my God. When I realized what they were thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, why am I here? But I had a lot of stomach issues, digestional issues, a ton of that. And I've heard that a lot of gray hybrid abductees have a lot of digestion problems. We just don't agree with the food that's here.
I see. What they told me about why they really need this material, another reason, is their geneticists. It's like their art, and that's the whole purpose of their being, is to create and to diversify. It's like their air, it's like their energy. They need to create and diversify, and they do, not only just humans, but they have a whole section that does plants and insects, and they have a whole department but they love diversifying on this level. Go ahead, Sasha. You raised your hand. What did you say?
I haven't left. When you said digestive stuff, I just wondered if Niall eats anything when he sees you that you have in your house or that you get for him.
Oh yeah, we heard that some of them like to eat. They can eat. Can your gray visitor eat?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And, I'm definitely going to agree with that because, this was probably almost 20 years ago. I kept having that issue. So I would come home from work. My children were young, very young, and I had a dog. And I would have like a loaf of banana bread. I just remember like three specific things. I had a loaf of banana bread sitting on the counter. When I came home, the cellophane that was around it was removed, and there was not a crumb left. And I thought, how did the dog do that? Like, that's amazing. Right? Then there was, those little tin or plastic containers of those little mini donuts? I hadn't even opened it yet, and I came home, and that was completely empty, like licked clean, like not. And again, there wasn't a tooth mark or anything in it. And I'm like, it was on the ground, but there was no way that dog put the lid back on that and not a tooth mark or nail mark gone into that. It was just one of those things that I was like, oh my God, what is happening? But yeah, I could never explain it. And I think there was a pie as well. So they must like sweets.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. They sometimes get very specific too from some of the people we've interviewed.
Yeah, the one likes nachos or something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you told me that, because that is one mystery solved. I never knew what was happening there. You know, in that same house, this was really interesting too. That same house, when I was doing laundry, I had 3 different things happen. A piece of clothing appeared out of, I have no idea where it came from, 3 different times. Once was a little pair of blue hand-stitched shorts. My son was like approximately 3 years old at the time. They were too small for him. And they looked like they came from like maybe the 60s or something, because they were hand-stitched. It was really odd. I took them to the babysitters and I'm like, here, these must be yours. And she's like, I've never seen these before. They didn't come from anyone. And then there was a Mickey Mouse t-shirt that showed up one time. Wasn't ours, didn't fit any of us. And again, nobody we knew. It wasn't anyone we knew or that had been over. And then a third time was a purple tank top. And yet again, it didn't fit any of us and it didn't belong to anyone. So I had never found out what was happening there, that those things kept appearing in my laundry. And it was always like when I was sorting laundry or folding laundry that there they were.
Did you ever get returned somebody else's clothes? Like somebody else's pajamas, or your pajamas on, or upside down, or inside out?
No, but gosh, no, not that I'm aware of. No, I didn't always sleep in pajamas, so that might be part of the reason. But so my experiences so far that I have memories of are the time when I got paralyzed, and another time I was shown that I was laying on what I would guess like an examining table. Like it felt hard-ish, not like super comfortable. I could see people on each side of me lined up. I couldn't move, so I could only see maybe like their knees down, and, you know, as further out they got, the less I could see. So I could see like knees, calves, feet on the couple of people on each side of me. I could feel a lot of pain in my right arm, and I could see like a tube. It looked like a metal tube, and they were inserting something into me. And then I had a lot of like very excruciating lower abdomen pain, which I realized they were harvesting my eggs. They were taking eggs at the time.
Wow.
During that session, during that memory, I could see a human doctor, or he had like a white lab coat on. That's why I assume he's a doctor or a scientist, perhaps. And I could see several grays. There was a mantid there, and then a reptilian walked in. Now, when the reptilian walked in, he was kind of sniffing. Like it looked like he was like kind of sniffing people, and he looked at me like we made eye contact, and I thought, uh-oh, like he knows something. And at that point, I believe when the grays were putting me back, and this was part of Niall would point at the contract when I asked him about this. So when the Greys were returning me, as they left before I realized I was back or awoke, or I never had any memory. Like, I don't remember them. Oh, I'm home, not like that. But later, but before I woke up, the reptilians were snatching me as well and trying to find out more information of what was happening. Now, I think this happens quite often. I think some of the reptilians are working for agencies with humans and helping them out finding things. And because of the MyLab incident with the black SUV pulling up in the paranormal team's driveway, and I've had several here, and I've had some really weird incidences. Like, I was out one time with a friend having a drink, and 3 people walked by me. The man that walked last, it was like a woman, a man, and a man. And when the man walked by, he said, "Oh, Nikki," like that. And I went, like, I looked at the guy I was with, and I'm like, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "Yeah, do you know him?" And I said, "I've never seen this guy before in my life." And I turned around, and they were gone. And I've had so many little experiences like that. I've been run off the road, or attempted to run off the road. I've had I've had a lot of near misses, let's say that. I had a couple attacks by people, and I think in those cases, it was just that negative energy or some spirit trying to scare me from talking, from helping people. Like, they want to scare you so that you just be quiet and live your life and don't do anything or say anything or move on. So I have had people, I had this woman stop in front of my car driving home, like I was turning, so I was going very slow. She was crossing the road. She stopped so I couldn't go any further and glared at me, like just that evil eye stare. And the guy behind her was like, "Hey, like, what are you doing? Keep walking." And when she was staring at me, I looked back at her and I said, "I'm not afraid of you." Like, I mouthed it to her because she couldn't hear me. And she moved on. It was like 2 nights later, I'm looking for a parking place in my neighborhood, same location, or about the same location. And I hear this bang on my driver's door window. This man like pounded his fist on my driver's door window as I was looking for a parking place. And I was like, ah! Like completely startled. And he backed up with that same exact look in his eyes, just 2 days after that woman had done it to me. And I was like, oh my God, I knew it was an energy that had like possessed that body or something, just like the man walking through the bar. Like, they just do these things to try and throw you off your path and frighten you, but never has anything happened. If I feel like I can't get rid of it, or if it's possessing me in a dream, throwing me around in a dream or something, I call in God, or who, my creator, Jesus, Archangel Michael, and it's always poof, they're gone. They don't want to mess with any of those beings. So it's worked so far.
The near misses really make me think about the reptilian part of you, which is what's is survival. And I just wonder if you could voice the essence of your reptilian part. What is that? What is the reptilian part of you like, and what does it do for you?
I probably don't have to think much about that. So the reptilian, I think, piece of me is just that kind of badass, fearless kind of part Possibly. I mean, I think that I come from a long line of warrior type beings. Oh, I think Janet asked about that earlier, and we can talk about that in a second. But there's you're kind of, I call them spirits. So like we have our soul, that's whoever we're connected to, like our life force. We have a body that can be anything. We can be in any type of being or body or whatever, but the spirit that's in us, that I think is a combination of things, right? So the spirits, just like spirits can be in the world, like Native American spirits or whatever, they don't I'm not saying that they don't have souls, but they don't necessarily have to have a soul. They have a purpose. They're here doing something. And these spirits can, attach to us and make us feel a certain way or do a certain thing, just what they're here doing. So if you have a spirit that's a little bit naughty and all of a sudden it attaches to you and you feel a little naughty, it's not that it changes who you are. It just kind of acts the way it is, what it is. It's just a spirit. And it's doing what it's meant to do, be a little naughty or curious or whatever the case might be. So calming down about who some of these spirits are and attachments are kind of is helpful in not getting too excited and paranoid and freaked out by what's around us and what it's doing. So whenever I start feeling not so much like myself, I kind of like recenter myself and kind of push these things away. But if the essence of that reptilian is going to be a part of me, I feel like it's kind of the warrior piece of me, maybe, like where it's just kind of fearless, like it wants to stand its ground and be who it needs to be. Like reptilians are here fighting because they feel like the earth is theirs, and maybe it is. But we got put here also. Humans got put here also. Not so much. I think the Anunnaki played some part with that, which I think you guys know a lot about. So,
yeah,
we don't, we're here too. We have to learn to share. And I think that's just always this war that's going on here on Earth, because everybody wants to claim it and not understand the next being. And I think maybe that's why we're here now. Like, there's no choice. The earth has always been at war. Religion, race, species. It really doesn't matter. Just the bottom line is love and compassion, understanding, kindness. It's the bottom line. If you don't like what I'm doing, right, that's fine. You don't have to. Just step over there, or I'll step over here and do your own thing there, and I'll do my thing here. And we don't have to hate each other. We have to accept each other. That's it.
And that's seems to me, as you've told your story, the way you've dealt with this is with equanimity. You just accept it, even though, and so you don't drive yourself crazy. And Janet does the same thing. And that's what I get from you. You are able to navigate life because you just accept what's happening.
Yeah, and honestly, it hasn't always been that way. There's been times where I got caught up and got really what is happening? I'm so tired of something new happening and dealing with this paranormal stuff. And but it's so much easier to deal with when you can just accept it and calm. So I mean, it didn't come overnight. It almost seems like I was really accepting very young. And then somewhere in the middle, I got a little off, and now I'm back to just understanding and accepting it. So the faster you can relearn those emotions and experiences, I think the better off you are. It doesn't, even the trickster energy, I didn't like it here, but it was just doing what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to create chaos, and it was doing a great job of it. It was, it was just here.
Have you been in long-term relationships, and how did that affect your relationships? partners deal with that?
I haven't been in a lot of long-term relationships. I've been married a couple of times, but under 10 years each. My second husband was earlier on, so I haven't been married for quite some time now, but in the beginning, he said, admittedly, I never believed in ghosts or things like that until I lived with you. And then you can't not believe it because it ends up being pushed into your face. There's just no explanation. And I'm like, right. So the people that are around me, they just come to realize that maybe there is something else out there, because there is no explanation for the things that happen. Most of my friends don't have any of the experiences I have, and maybe some of them have a few of the experiences or similar experiences. But I'm not the only one I know, but I'm one of the few that have as many experiences as I do. For example, in one house that I lived in, just one house, 3 years, we had, in that house, I would get knocks on the windows and nobody was there. Some entity or something would turn on my spigots outside full blast. So my water in the middle of the night, I could, like, what is that noise? The water would be going full blast out of the spigots. They would try to ignite all 4 of my burners on my gas range, my stovetop, at the exact same time without anything. Yeah, no, they would swing chandeliers. They would open and slam doors. That was when my son was a teenager at that time, and that's when he finally became a believer, because my daughter and I always experienced this stuff, but he never wanted to admit it until then. Then he's like, okay, I have to admit it now myself.
You think the house may have had entities, or
They're following Nikki.
Well, it could be a combination. Once you're there, they're going, yay, she's here. She can see. They tell me. I go, why me? And they say, well, because we can see you seeing us. That's why we come in.
Yeah.
Get your attention.
Yeah, I think it's different ones. There might be a handful, or I don't know. There might be some that follow. I kind of think it's just different ones that, they're just like, hey, I'm here. My granddaughter, when she was a baby, she saw in that house, she saw them. She was like barely able to stand up in her crib, and we would hear her on the baby monitor laughing. And then, so we'd go and check on her, and you could watch her standing in her crib. You could watch her eyes like following something all the way around her room. And then when it got right in front of her, she'd burst out laughing. And she'd do that for hours. Several times she did that. So they seemed to like the baby. It didn't seem like it was trying to harm anyone, although one time it did slam the door and lock her inside the room, and my daughter freaked out so bad she ripped all the trim off the door in order to get into the room, which I don't blame her. I would have done the same thing. And then it was time to move because I didn't know about paranormal teams at the time. And I was kind of getting used to energies and spirits being around me, but at that time, I didn't know how to deal with them or calm them down or communicate so much. I would try to talk to them at times, and it kind of seemed to work, but I wasn't very good at it yet. I was just starting to meditate and just starting to communicate with my guides. And so from there, I learned a lot and started learning to deal with things. But I think there's been a mix of human activity and alien activity and spirit activity. So then it became like figuring out what was what. And now I'm pretty good at feeling it out. Like it feels very differently. So just like anything, the more you practice, the more you put time and energy into it, the better you're going to be at it. Some people have natural ability, some don't, but all have ability. So it's just how much you want to work at it and figure it out. And trust, I guess, is one of the biggest things, right? Because everyone wants that confirmation. But once you start trusting what you're getting, man, you just like really can excel at reading these energies and figuring out what they are and what they want. I would like to tell you about an experience I had in astral because it's really beautiful, and it was one of my favorite things that have happened so far. So a friend of mine, this was when I was first. Yes?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So it's one of my first experiences with I had been going into astral, but I never realized that's what people were talking about. I had just always been doing it. So I didn't realize until later what I was doing. But a friend of mine had asked about her daughter's friend who used to be really sweet and now was like really acting up. And she asked me if I could just take a peek and see if there was something going on with her. Well, I don't like doing things without permission. I feel like you're being invasive. So she ended up asking her mother, and the mother agreed. Luckily, she was open-minded, and she agreed to it. So when I looked at her, I saw like what looked like a serpent kind of energy going around and around her, and it was almost like smirking at me. So I asked the angels to come in and help me get rid of this because I, at the time, didn't know how to do it myself. So I asked them to come in. So this was my real first, almost like healing kind of paranormal, getting rid of something paranormal. So what happened was it appeared that we went to the void. It was just all darkness all around us. And this girl was placed in front of me. So I thought about her, and there she was standing in front of me, and I could see this like snake serpent like thing going around her and in and out of her. And it was what was causing her to be angry and act out and things like this. So in came 1,000, I swear it was 1,000 angels, and they lined up with me in a like straight line on each side of me. And then Archangel Michael came in, and I saw Archangel Raphael off to the side, and Archangel Michael stood between me and the girl and just stood there and stared at me. And at the time I was like, why isn't he getting rid of that thing? And then I'm like, oh, that's right. You have to ask permission, or you have to ask them to do things. With angels, they need direct, you have to ask them to do things. They won't just do it on their own. So I said, oh, Archangel Michael, will you please remove this energy from this poor girl? And like very showy, it took him nothing at all. He took out his sword and like swiped a couple of times, and that thing was released from that girl's body. A couple of angels ran in and like grabbed the girl before she fell to the ground. And me and the angels that were all lined up blew with our breath, and pushed that entity or that little energy thing out somewhere into the universe. We just blew it, like it just tumbled over and over and over out into the distance somewhere far, far away from this girl. And then Archangel Michael took off, and Archangel Raphael stepped in and communicated with me. She would be very tired and was going to sleep for a few hours, and then over the course of the next month she would start to regain her strength and get stronger. And he said him and the angels would take care of it. I was done. And just like that, one by one, the angels alongside me just took off, and I could feel the air and the energy from their wings, like taking off. And it was so incredibly beautiful. It was so amazing. I like couldn't believe it. So a couple days after, we asked the mother what happened when the daughter came home from school that day. And she's like, oh, it was really weird. She went straight to bed. She didn't even want to eat dinner. She just went straight to bed and wanted to take a nap and slept the whole night, just like they had told me. So it was such an incredible experience. Like, I was so, like, I want to help other people. What else can I do? I need to help other people. So I do it where I can. And I always move in and I ask other people, you know, if I don't feel like I can do it, I always ask for help. I did just have another experience that wasn't so pleasant. A friend of mine was talking to me about a paranormal activity that was going on in her sister-in-law's house. And it was really heavy duty. Like, she's like, I don't know. I tried to remove it and it didn't go. Like, she was asking me what I saw. So we were talking about it. And her sister-in-law said, I don't want, you guys are going to remove my protector. This thing had attached to her sister-in-law, making her sister-in-law very angry. And the sister-in-law kind of like broke out and she's like, I dreamt there was two women all in white flowy dresses that came in and removed my protection. And I don't like it. I don't want it removed. So my friend explained to her what was going to happen. And indeed, that's what it was. This entity did not want to go. It was very strong and very persistent. So my friend called in Archangel Michael and asked for assistance with it. Well, when her and I hung up the phone, she was going to go and do it herself. I was actually at work. When we hung up the phone from that conversation, I needed to make a couple of calls. Every time I picked up my phone, it would ring like half a ring. And then, can I swear on this radio station?
Don't do the F-bomb, but anything but the F-bomb.
Okay, yeah, no, it's not that. So it was like this man's voice. It almost sounded kind of recorded, but like robotic, I guess is a better word. And it said, bitch, 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 bitch. Like just constantly, like repetitively saying that. I hung up the phone. I'm like, what was that? You know, I knew, like in the, the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was that energy. It's mad because we're going to get rid of it. And I picked up the phone again. It happened again. I like shut my phone off, turned it back on. It kept happening. So I had to call in. I called in the angels and I'm like, can you please clear my phone, clear this energy away from my space and, protect me from this energy. And I shut my phone off a second time, turned it back on, and it was gone. So that was a little bit different situation, but just amazing and how powerful these energies are around us. I mean, there's everything you can think of out there. I know everyone's had an experience, and whether they want to admit it or not, everyone's had this either little miracle or this really strange thing they can't explain, and it is what it is. And if they just accept it and start dealing with, the different forms of what's out there, it would be a lot easier to understand what's happening. And have faith in your angels.
Have you ever channeled anybody? Have you ever channeled?
I have. I don't love. I guess it depends on how you what you mean by channeling. I channel information in readings. I don't love letting beings talk through me. I'm not a big fan of allowing that to happen, but I will read and repeat what I get. I have a Palladian came through one time, and just kind of channeled through me. She kind of caught me off guard, and it was just a lovely message, and it wasn't, anything too life-changing, but it was a nice message, and I allowed her to do it because it didn't feel prickly to me. It didn't feel evasive to me, so I allowed it to happen, but I don't love doing that personally.
Yeah. I had this one come through me. We had a client, and he didn't know why his mother killed herself, so she tapped my shoulder, and I said, I've never done this before. She wants to say something, so we put up the protection. We said, okay, you can come and talk. And then we had to leave and catch a plane. And I got home, and I felt like I had the flu. And then Sasha facilitated, and she said, you didn't ask me to leave, so I followed you all the way to Maui. And so when we asked her to go, into the light, or however you symbol it, all of a sudden I could see the entire tri-state area of Pittsburgh, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. Like I saw, it must have been thousands rising up in the air and going with her. It's like somehow she was keeping all these people with her. And I had asked my sister, did you ever hear anything like that? She said, because it seemed like the population was too big for, what we know of, was supposed to be in North. It seemed like millions. And she's a Mormon, converted Mormon. She said, oh, yeah, we have stories of all these ancient cities, and there were, huge cities like New York. So it was very interesting. But we only have 3 more minutes. Josh, what do you want to say?
Just a standard procedure when I work is I interview the possessing spirit and find out why they are associated with you. Then ask Archangel Michael and the spirits, rescue spirits, to put a net of light around not just the spirit that's attaching, but all its associates that run through your family and through your friends and through your networks, and let them all go to their appointed place in their particular light, and so that I've had that same experience of people. Oh my gosh, this whole network has lifted for me and my family and everybody in the town.
Okay, we have 2 minutes, and you said you're going to start working with the paranormal team. How can people reach you? Last 2 minutes are yours. Take it away.
Yeah, so that's kind of in slow motion right now, but I'm more than happy to take a look at people and connect with some friends that do it on more of a regular basis of getting rid of energies and entities. So I'm on Facebook under my name, and in the process of getting hopefully a book and maybe a website together. But through Facebook is the best way to reach me right now. And if I can't do it, I will definitely connect you with the people that can.
Cool.
Okay, great. Yeah, because if you get a website or you have information, just send it to me and I'll add it to your page. I can add it. I usually get a lot of hits on my website, so we'll help you connect with people who need your services and want to meet you. Are you going to be doing any conferences in 2020?
I have no plans on doing any right at this moment. I am quite busy with, I make some organic lotion on the side, which I really enjoy doing. And that kind of takes off sometimes. And I work, a money-making job also. So I'm pretty busy, but I would love to talk at a conference sometime. I just don't have any plans on doing it at the moment.
Okay, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Nikki. It was great. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Awesome. Lots of love and blessings, everybody. Aloha.